Alrighty, a very good evening to you, my friends. Welcome to Thursday's afternoon program, Your Health and You. And it's the original Dr. Haynes, live and direct to you from Channel 2. I want to thank the guys over there for facilitating us so that we can facilitate you. And actually, I was remembering that this program started in 1996, and it was always a live television program. And then we started to do replays. We have probably thousands of DVDs and recordings that we can probably put together and maybe do a whole movie or do sequence or something. But there's so many things that we talked about over the years, and many of them have not changed. But today I wanted to continue with our dialogue regarding the parasites and the worms and the havoc that they create in people, which is sometimes brushed under the carpet by many. And like so many of you, don't believe that you have parasites or worms that are traversing into your body systems. But I'm here to tell you that little do you know that those worms and parasites that you're not considering being present in your body system, are responsible for many of the conditions you're suffering with today. Many of you are hypertensive, you're diabetic, you're having digestive problems, you're having cancers, you're having all sorts of conditions that are linked. I'm saying that again, that are linked to worms and parasites. And if you want to believe it or not, it's your problem. And if you don't believe it, that is probably the reason why you continue to suffer. Seriously. Many of the worms that exist, and there are a number of them, numerous worms that are existing and living comfortably in your body systems, and you have no clue. You have no idea until maybe something happens, and then you have to visit our clinic or another clinic that's involved in the type of work that we do. And then when you consume the medicines that are suggested, then you experience the deposits of those either live or sometimes dead worms that you don't believe exist in your body. You see them come out. You literally see them come out. And I'm reminded of someone uh, just recently, days ago, who said to us right here at the clinic that she had these things that came out on her skin and her arm, on different parts of her body. And when she punctured them and squeezed, worms were coming out of them. Worms. We're getting some feedback. Don't, don't know why we're getting some interference there. Yes, we're getting some loud feedback from the studio. Some loud feedback coming from the studio there, and I'm hearing it, and I know you're hearing it too. So I want to ask my friends there to somehow turn down your recordings or your mute. I'm sorry, we're having some interference. We're having some interference from the studio there. I'm hearing the voices loud and clear, and maybe something was on or is on that needs to be turned down or turned off. So, guys, thanks for considering that. Yes, as I was saying, coming out of her arm and her and different parts of her body when she punctured those um, formations on her skin, worms were coming out of her own skin. And she was in disbelief because they were living too. They were not just dead, they were living. And they were itching first, and then she tried to, to raise this scab that was there. Worms were crawling out of her arms. And it's a living testimony. It was a living testimony to her to see that indeed these cutters are alive in her body system. They're there. They're there. They're all behind your eyes. Those of you who are having vision problems probably have worms behind your eyes. You're having liver troubles, you have worms at your liver. Worms are in the kidney, worms are in your pelvic region. You would be surprised to know they're down in your pubic areas. Worms don't they're they're notorious for roaming throughout your body system, and there's nothing that you can do about it unless you remove them by force. So the more you consume matter that contains larvae, and the more you consume matter that has worms in them without cooking properly, or sometimes you've got to burn the meat probably to be able to get rid of the larva. But in many of the flesh foods that you consume, I've got so many videos that have been sent to me regarding fish that you cut them open and the worms are crawling in them. Meats or flesh that you cut, when you slice them a certain way, you see the worms crawling out. I don't know, you those of you who consume those dead animals, um, you need to be very cautious. And I'm saying dead animals because they're dead, and it's flesh that you're eating, and it's for your own benefit, for your own health, that you re-examine what you're consuming, because you're digging your graves with your teeth and you're eating yourselves into your graves. I kept saying that over and over, and it sounds like maybe like joke to some of you, but you're doing that, and many of the times when we become ill is because we are consuming foods and liquids and beverages that are contributing to our illnesses, and we don't want to make the adjustments. We seem to believe that we could continue to eat the same things and we're going to get better. You cannot consume matter that makes you sick and expect that you're going to be better. It does not work. It doesn't work. You can't keep doing the same thing that's got you sick and expect that you're going to get well. It doesn't work. It don't work. You cannot have a vehicle in reverse gear and expect to go forward. It doesn't work. For it to go forward, you got to put it in drive, and you put it in a gear in which it will go forward. If you keep doing the things that will take you back, eventually it will take you out. And we see that more and more. We see more and more people that are just falling dead suddenly, and they don't know why. Some with heart conditions, some with stroke, some with um, aneurysms, some with cardiac arrest. And many of those, when autopsies were done, and I was sent several autopsies, with clips of autopsies where the autopsies were done, and when the results came out, they had blockages with matter that was laden with parasites. Laden with parasites. They had tumors with worms that were living inside of the tumors. So it's no joke that we need to take seriously the fact that we need to detox and deworm, detoxify and deworm. And I was saying to Dr. Richard that we need to have a war against the worms, war against the worms, because these worms are at war with you, but you don't know it. They're fighting a silent battle in you, and they're destroying your inside. They're eating your flesh and you don't know. They're eating your foods and you don't know. They're eating and they're messing and they're multiplying in there and you don't know. You don't. Some of you feel the worms in there, but you don't think that adults will have worms. You think it's a children thing. I've heard many adults say that. Look, we still have worms. Is this something that adults would get? The bigger you are, the more worms you would have because you're eating more things now than you were when you were smaller. The older you get, probably the bigger the worms because you may have had them there for years, just eating and messing and multiplying, and you have no clue. And sometimes these worms make songs. The larger they are, they can make songs, and you hear the song, and you think it's gas. You see them full of gas, but it could be the worms that are crying out in there, or the worms that are communicating in there, and you don't know. You don't understand the language, but they're communicating in you with each other. These worms travel through your arteries and blood vessels, and they go even all in your brain. I've had a little boy near at clinic where he was continuously hitting his head, tapping his head with his hand all the time, and the parents don't understand why he's tapping his head. He's crying and tapping his head, and it's nonstop. And they took him wherever they took him, and then nobody could find why. They did all sorts of things. I don't know what method they used, but they did all sorts of tests, and they couldn't find why this young boy was tapping on his head all the time. So when they brought him here, and we did a history on him, I connected them to the devices, and lo and behold, there were worms laden in this child's head, in his brain. Laden, worms in his brain. Believe it or not. So we had to go on a campaign of seriously killing worms. And it's difficult to get to his brain. You got to get into the bloodstream, and then it's got to carry it there. The medicine has to be carried to the brain. Wherever the worms are, it has to be carried there. So for a few days, he was tapping, and the tapping got worse because now the worms were at odds with what's this new thing here that's coming into our system and trying to take over. But eventually, the worms were killed and executed and removed out of his system. He was able to pass many of them, and they burrowed through his system and got down into his intestine, and they were passed out. And the child was okay until they started giving him back the same foods again sometime after, and it just happened to him again. And then he, I guess it was time. You cannot keep doing the same thing and expect to get different results. You're going to get the same results if you keep doing the same thing. And it's important to understand that you have to be able to get medicines that are effective. Not all worm medicines are equal. You have many different types of worms. The same medicine that works for one or two may not work for the rest of them. So you've got to sort of confuse the worms. You cannot administer the same continuously, because you will miss some of them. They will drink it and they'll be okay with them. So you've got to rotate and mix the type of worm applications until you can successfully conquer them, destroy them, and have them removed out of your system. Some of them will come out live, some will come out dead. And we've shown pictures of some persons who gave us permission to publicize or to publicly use what was excreted, so that persons can see that yes, indeed, these worms do exist and they're coming out in my feces. That was from someone who doubted that she had parasites and worms. Now she's an advocate. She's out there. Everyone she sees, you need to get some more medicine. You need to get some more medicine. And I don't blame her because she's trying to save the lives of many. So let me tell you, many of you who are sick because you're infested with parasites. I'm saying that to you. It's been proven over and over. So you need to start back what we used to do when we were very young children. And I was saying that to a friend of mine yesterday who was here. We need to go back to basics. Go back to basics, and mothers and fathers need to deworm their children I would say every time school closes, deworm them. It should be done more often, but at least deworm them before they go back to school. At least. You'll be surprised at what happens to them, even with their ability to learn, to retain, to have more energy, everything. I'm saying I'm specifically mentioning that about the children because we can start there, and the parent themselves need to deworm themselves. As you deworm your children, deworm yourself and detoxify yourself. Because what happens is that if you don't cleanse, then you're going to retain a lot of the debris, and there's going to become toxicity in your system, and then you have a problem. So don't deworm unless you detoxify also. You can deworm and detox. It's okay. Cleanse your system. You want to know what to use to cleanse your system? Call the clinic here. We'll advise you, or you could pay us a visit, and we will screen you or your children, and we will see, and we let you see yourself. You'll see it all yourself. What's in it? What's in them? What we talking about here? By the way, if you have a question or you have a concern, you can call the number on the screen. I think it's on the screen there, 231-6477. I'm going to be able to answer you, I think. I should be able to answer you if you have a question or a concern, and we can discuss it. Don't be afraid or ashamed. This program started out as a live program, and before coronavirus occurred, we were actually taking calls and answering your questions, and we will continue to do so, except that some of you are afraid to call. You can also get this program, and you can also let your friends know or family know, wherever they are across the globe. Once they tune in, they can go on YouTube and just type in Dr. Joseph Haynes, and the program will come up live, and you just click on it, and you will be able to join a live program. You can call and let them know that, and then you can subscribe. You can hit the subscribe button, and then you'll be able to on the Thursday when we're on, you can be able to be notified and have the program streamed in the presence of your home or wherever you are, in your car. It doesn't matter where. So the technology has enabled us to be able to reach you wherever you are in the world. Even in Japan, even in China, even in America, you can call your family there and friends and let them tune in. We've seen some serious cases of cancer. I kept wondering what is happening to the world, because when I go to Jamaica, I see cancer there in large numbers. When I go to Florida, it's there. When I go to New York, it's there. It seems to be occurring even at a younger age now. Cancer is affecting persons even at a very young age. Very young age. These illnesses are no longer occurring in the elderly. It's occurring in young teenagers, young adults, even in children. Yeah. So there is some force out there that is actually creating situations where persons are being afflicted younger and younger with conditions. And I'm suspecting that some of it is coming from the environment, some coming from the farms or the farmers with the chemicals, some are coming from the food that we eat with those chemicals, the lead, the mercury in the seafood. We are in the different toxic matters that we are exposed to. There is so many factors now that are contributing to illnesses and to cancers that it really is alarming, and we need to pay attention, because before we know it, we may not have too many generations left. People are just falling down, and nobody knows why they're falling, and they're not falling down to get up, they fall along to be buried. And it's concerning. Many women are being afflicted with uterine cancer, many men with prostate cancer, many women with breast cancer. Female reproductive cancer and male reproductive cancer is on the it's not on the rise. It's almost like an assault on the human race. Seriously. And you must take into consideration the fact that you're living in a time where more chemicals are being used to produce the foods that we eat. Yeah. So I am not going to stop saying that we need to plant our own foods more. Plant your foods more. You need to change the way you maybe you spend your 24 hours, and fit in there some time so you could do some gardening. Seriously, because if you don't produce your own, then you're going to be exposed to those who are producing for you to consume. Seriously. And there's no excuse. We all have 24 hours. You can take 2 hours per day, one in the morning, one in the evening, and take care of your little garden that you have. Do a little garden. Instead of gambling and playing loud music in the streets, and driving up and down and killing yourselves, and doing nothing, spend 2 hours per day doing some gardening, and produce for yourselves, because it's not cheap anymore to buy from the market. It really isn't. It's very expensive now to buy from the marketplace. And then when you buy, you're at the mercies of whatever is in them. So please go back into your yard and do some planting, do some gardening, plant some fruits, some vegetables, some things that can make a difference in what is happening to your life. People are going to say, well, doc, something got to kill us, we got to die somehow. People say that all the time, but sometimes when the time comes, people wish that they don't have to go there. You could see it in the faces, or in the families. Why did he go so soon? Or why did she go so soon? And then you leave children, and you leave husbands and wives, and aunts and uncles and families and cousins. You leave them and you're gone. Young age. So I'm saying to you, take responsibility. Take charge of your lives, and don't believe that you're not exposed to the chemicals and the metals and the worms and parasites that are invading people's bodies. There are worms that actually cause blindness, cause you to be blind. Yes. There are worms that nest in your body system and forms tumors and cysts. Worms. When you think it's a tumor, it could be a nest of worms laying eggs and just going through your system and creating havoc, eating and messing and multiply. They don't come out and do any of that. They eat, mess, and multiply in you, inside of your body. So where does that mess go? You absorb it, and it becomes toxic. So please, just let me see here. Good evening.
Good evening, Dr.
Yes, good evening to you.
I'm listening to the program. What I want to know, before you do work out, what is it you can do to detox the body?
Well, there are several things that are available now, and when I say detox, I mean like cleansing the colon, cleansing the bloodstream. There are many detox formulas that are available. Okay.
Could you give me an idea which one that I can do, what you could do?
You're talking about something at home or something that you could purchase?
Something that I could purchase or something I can use at home.
All right.
Bush or what?
But I won't be able to help you with the bush. All right? I'm not.
I,
People believe I'm a herbalist, but I never was a herbalist. I'm a naturopath.
so why
Um,
I ask, because, sometimes people complain push.
yes,
But
I
to
know.
detox the body, to remove whatever medication.
Yes, but let me just say this to you. There's several methods that you can use at home to go through the process of cleansing. You can do water cleansing. You can do fasting. You can use fruits to cleanse. You can use vegetables to cleanse. I would suggest the ones you grow at your home, or you can have cleansing products available at the pharmacy here. If you call, they've got detoxifying formulas for your liver, for your kidneys, for your gallbladder, for your colon, for your stomach. There is so much available now that it's easy for you to pick up something at the
So we
pharmacy.
use a lot of fruit in the morning before we take breakfast, before we eat anything.
That's fine. That's fine.
We
But
use watermelon, one together, orange, one together, pear, banana, pawpaw.
the other things there that you need to be cautious with or careful with is that if you have issues with your body system, there's some foods that you should not be consuming with the conditions you have.
Okay.
You see, and then there's some foods that are acid. There's some that are very sweet. So you've got to really, based on what is happening with your body, you've got to be able to tailor your intake of fruits or vegetables according to what is happening to you. So the best thing you can do is to get yourself screened, get yourself checked, right? You screen, we'll be able to see what is happening with you. If there's a condition, we'll be able to even tell you what you should avoid, things that you should avoid based on the conditions that you have.
Okay.
If I mean, the clinic has been around for years, since 1996, and we have devices now that we can detect things that are wrong with your body. Then we also are guided as to what is best for you to use. So technology has changed tremendously, and there's so much that is happening now that it's easy for someone to be able to obtain what is necessary to help to cleanse them, to remove the waste that needs to be removed.
Okay.
Okay.
All that is not really me, but it's my daughter, because she's getting fat and fatter. And
Yeah.
Lord trying to remind her food, like when she eats, when she don't want it, when she always wants, she wants it.
Well, she probably has a lot of parasites. She may have a lot of worms. It's very possible that she's loaded with worms, and then she may be eating foods that are against what she should be using. Then she may have problems with her thyroid or with some part of her body that's causing her not to burn. You've got to really look. How many times per day? How many times per week do you clean your house?
How many times?
How many
3 times.
times weekly do you clean your house?
I feed her, I mean, feed her food.
No. How many times per week do you clean your home?
I clean my home.
Yes.
It's only the sugar.
Listen to my question. There's a reason why I'm asking you.
Weekend time.
How many times per week do you clean your house?
Well, every day I will sleep,
Good.
but I write once a week.
Right. Okay. Very good. Very good. Now, how many times per week do you clean your body?
Likely my,
Your body, inside of your body. What I want to say is that just like you clean your,
I use a lot of wash dish.
let me just say this, okay? Just as much as you focus on cleaning your house that you live in, focus on cleaning this body that you live in. Okay?
I got a pot. I just put bush, different bush.
All right. I understand that. No, I understand that. And I don't want to be short, but we want to give some other persons a chance to call if they need to. But you've got to focus on cleaning your body system, just like you focus on cleaning your house.
Okay, okay.
Okay? Your daughter gaining the weight, she's probably eating things that she shouldn't be eating. She probably have issues with her health that she needs to have looked at.
And she one of these children they call it it's not they call it. They call them they have a name they call it
I didn't hear you.
Try 2021. She's going to do children.
Okay, I didn't really get you, but what I'm saying is that
She was at your clinic already. I was there already with her.
if
We
she
advised
follows,
her to do her milk.
if she follows the printout with what she should avoid, she's
Mm-hmm.
certainly going to lose weight. But I'm quite sure she's not. She's
Oh,
not.
she love it. She love it.
Good. She's not following what she should be using and avoiding. Because if you follow what you should be avoiding, naturally you're going to lose weight. Naturally.
But what will happen? I got her back up the road to food since it's coming back. She's not in the kitchen. What we should be doing? Bring to eat the down.
That
Change
is
them
that is
before
something
that.
that many persons do. Anyhow, she needs to follow the guidelines, and if she's serious about her health, she will take responsibility and ensure that she's doing the right things. Okay?
Okay. All right.
Okay, my dear. Thanks for calling.
Okay. You're welcome.
Bye. It's like I'm saying, you're going to be given a guideline. Listen to what mom said. She goes in the kitchen when nobody's watching or when she has the ability to go there, and she eats. She eats, consuming foods that maybe she shouldn't be using, and consuming too much of the foods. Let me tell you something. The more you eat, the more you can eat. The stomach will take as much as you can put inside. So you've got to be temperate. You've got to eat with moderation. You've got to eat knowing that if you overeat, you're going to hurt yourself. You see? So I'm sorry, but we've got to be responsible. We've got to be responsible. I don't know how old the daughter is. I don't really know who it was, or who it is, but you need to take charge of your life and your health. If not, you're going to give somebody a serious bill, and then hopefully, it will be something that will save you from a worse situation. Stop eating so much. The food is not going to go anywhere. Only eat what you need to eat. You know what I believe, that if we eat the right foods, with the right nutrients inside, and you can get the right foods. It's available. They're available here. You will not have to eat much because you're going to be filled. You're going to be filled because you're nutrifying yourself with the quality of foods that you need to be consuming. But when you want to eat foods that are out of order, out of the quality that you need, then you're going to eat and you're going to eat and you're going to eat until you can't eat no more. That's what happens. If I ever try to overeat, I feel so uncomfortable. I feel like I'm doing an injustice to my system. Really, you know. So what needs to happen with your daughter is that your daughter needs to remember. She needs to remember that only so much needs to be eaten, and you eat foods that are of a quality of a standard that gives you the nutrition that your body needs. Eat because you need to be nourished. Don't eat because you want to be filled. Eat because you need to be nourished. Many persons eat because they want to be filled. You're gonna kill yourself. You're gonna end up with diabetes, with high blood pressure, obesity, colic, H. pylori, all the wrong things. So I don't know, and lots of parasites too. Lots of parasites. Many persons are eating foods that are laden with parasites and have no idea that they're doing it. Laden with parasites. I've seen videos sent to me where persons have the fish on a plate and they just slice the fish in different parts, and the worms are crawling out of the fish. Yes, I've seen that. Worms are crawling out of the fish. I've seen a person sent me, you can try it at home, send me a picture with a piece of pork nice piece of pork on a plate, and they poured Coca-Cola on the they poured Coca-Cola on the flesh, and worms came crawling out of there. I don't know what the Coca-Cola did to them. Maybe it made them drunk or something. But worms came crawling out. I've seen that. It's on my phone. I've seen it. So I know, I know that there are lots of worms out there. And I've actually seen them myself. You know, so please don't become a victim. Eat sensibly, okay? And stop eating so much of the dead flesh. I say dead flesh because you wouldn't eat it if it's like that. You have to cook it, you have to season it, you have to spice it up. Some of you will eat raw fish, but you put something on it to give it some taste. You call it sushi. Some of you eat sushi every day. I could imagine what's happening inside of you. Yeah, and then you wonder why you're sick. Why when you go to the doctor and he gives you the medicines that he thinks you need, you're not getting any better. You're wondering all the whys. That's because we're digging our graves with our teeth and we're eating ourselves into our graves, my friends. That's what we're doing. I'm spending this much time on parasites because my mind is boggled. I'm really concerned about the infestation that we're seeing in people. Some people as much as 15 worms, 16 worms, different types in their body system, in different parts of the body. Some people are bloated, and they think it's gas alone. It's not gas alone, it's parasites and worms infested in there. Yes. So I'm saying to you, if you're not certain about what to use to cleanse your system, you can call the clinic. The number's on the screen there. Write it down. Call the clinic. Get some advice. Get some advice. Take charge of your health. Take the right things to do the right job. You can't want to have an electrician come and do your and fix your concrete. You know, you're gonna have to get a mason, somebody who knows about concrete. You can't want to get a dentist to do a surgery on your back. He will do a surgery in your mouth. You got to get the right people to advise you correctly. You cannot want to go to somebody who does not know about nutrition and expect to be able to be advised properly on nutrition. They don't know nutrition. The average doctor was not trained enough in nutrition to advise you on nutrition. Dr. Richard, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
You were missing in action.
Yeah, I was missing. I know.
You were tied up. We have a few more minutes left, but enough to have you get some words. And we talking about parasites and worms. And I just had a call a few minutes ago.
Oh, nice.
Who was saying to me that her daughter is obese. She's just eating, and she's not losing weight. And she was here at the clinic, but she's not following the rules. She was here sometime. I'm not sure what time she was here, but she visited at some point. She knows what needs to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And she's still in the kitchen, according to mom. She's going in the kitchen when persons are not watching, and she's consuming things that she shouldn't be eating.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So
That's a rough one. It's difficult. But I know I missed the story you had. You were going to inform us about the parasite situation.
yeah, we had one of your patients that came.
Uh-huh.
She came in and she was relaying to us her experience
Uh-oh.
she had with some. She was itching, she was itching on her skin, and she decided that she's gonna pierce some of those things that she saw on her hands, and all of them that she pierced had worms coming out of them.
What?
Yeah, and
Wow.
she said that was just her hands, and she promises to come back to give us some more details about her experience with the worms and how she's now realizing that she was indeed infested.
Yeah. I mean, it's that is something else.
I never had that experience myself.
I've seen them do that with fish like tilapia,
Oh yeah,
and a
yeah.
lot of people don't realize that even it doesn't matter what tilapia, if it's farm grown or wild caught or whatever. If you really take the meat and you sort of fillet it real thin, you put it to the light, you can actually see, you know, worms, mastigots, little they curl up and some of them are stretched out. If you go through the musculus layers of the fish, and you can pull them out. I think I sent you a video.
You did, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So
yeah.
it's no joke. I mean, this is for real. These things contain worms, and when you're eating them, you're eating worms. You're eating a lot of worms. And
But but
yeah,
there are people who say that I don't eat fish, I eat chicken.
same thing. you know, all flesh have worms, including human flesh, as you just showed, right? They have worms. We have worms, and a lot of it is acquired from eating meat. A lot of it. Now, some vegetables like broccoli and things like that do have worms too.
Oh yeah,
You can
and some fruits,
and some fruits too. Yeah,
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 flatworms. Some fruits
yeah,
have.
yeah. And
Mhm.
flat worms, and guava has rung worms. I mean, you can take a very ripe guava and you can open it sometimes, and you can look and see worms in it.
Yeah, all you gotta do is swallow the guava.
Yeah, and you get a lot of worms. But yeah, I mean, there are several types, and I know you probably went over them: the rungworm, the tapeworm, and the hookworm, and all those different worms.
Threadworm, flatworm,
Whereas
ringworm,
pinworms,
pinworm.
and this is a if we were to look into the study of this, I mean, we could spend a lifetime on this program alone, just going through parasitology. I mean, and going through these worms, and they do cause problems. They do cause diseases and so forth. And I had a couple of cases recently
Mm-hmm.
where, and like I said, you can tell what was eaten, based on the worms. You know, there's some worms that are that are found in a fish. I know you probably talked about that. Onchocerca vulva, and no, that's a different type of worm. But these worms in the fish, they are no joke. They are no joke. Once they go into, as a matter of fact, they love the liver and they love the gallbladder,
Mm-hmm.
and
They like the
yeah.
soft organs and soft flesh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all
Yeah.
behind the eyes. I talked about the ones that are behind the back of the eyes.
Mm-hmm.
They like to go where it's nice and warm and soft, and they just dwell there,
That's right.
eat, mess, and multiply right there.
And they live as long as you, longer than you too,
Yeah,
because once you're worried. People they're concerned about, well, where does the worm come? Somebody asked me one time. Well, people die, but then after a while you see worms and flies. Where it all came from?
inside
Exactly, they were there
all the time.
all the time. You know,
Mm-hmm.
these worms in the fish. When you see a lot of them, look out, cancer.
Yeah, yeah. As a matter of fact, many of the tumors
Hmm.
that are part of the cancerous condition
That's right.
contain worms.
That's right.
They contain worms.
Yeah, they contain a lot of worm.
Yeah.
Opistorchis. It's called opistorchisis. That's that. Vivianus, Philinus, and there's another one. Once I see a lot of those,
Cancer.
cancer,
Yeah.
and it's a pattern. It's
Never fails.
never fails. Never.
Mhm. The other thing that is known, and I know there are people out there who are listening to us. Many persons watch the program, and there are many persons out there with leg ulcers.
Yeah, yeah,
When you have a leg ulcer, trust me, parasites are living in there.
yeah.
I've proven it to many persons, and they didn't believe it.
Yeah. Yep, yep.
Yeah,
Filaria.
and that is another reason why many of those open wounds and ulcers
Don't
they
heal.
end up having bad odors and they don't heal.
Yeah, a lot of times. A lot of times. Or if you get the tissues enlarged because the worms go in the lymphatics and block the lymphatic ducts and
Mhm.
drainage and so forth. So you get your legs, filarious, filaria is, it's spread by, the flies,
Mosquitoes.
the mosquitoes and things like that. And yeah, that's what they do. They go and they block the lymphatic drainage to that area, and then it does. If it's a leg, it'll swell.
Mhm.
Hand, it'll swell. And they love the area, and they move around, like you said, the mess, and they create a lot of problems. And before you know it, you get an ulcer, and it takes a long time to heal until you remedy the condition.
Sometimes they don't heal
And
because you don't recognize the fact that there is an undermining factor in
yeah,
the parasites.
yeah,
You're preventing the healing from occurring.
yeah. So it's real. It's real.
Worms are real. Worms are real, and worms and parasites are totally linked to cancer. Totally linked.
Yeah.
I've seen it in documented. I've seen many conditions of the liver
Hmm.
that are present, and the liver, of course, there are people who eat liver of animals.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
eat the liver. Some people live off of the liver. They're told that that's the best part to eat because you get the blood, it builds your blood and all that.
Yeah, you get everything. Everything in that animal
Is that the liver?
is in the liver. Every pathogen, you know,
Yeah, every disease is at the liver.
is in the liver. Because that's like the filter. It is the filter of the body, right? Really.
Yeah,
That and the spleen.
yeah. I was getting to that. Uh, Many persons don't realize that the spleen is also, a soft tissue,
Hmm.
and the worms love that.
Hmm.
They love that. It's easy for them to digest.
Yeah, I mean it's very rich with blood.
Yeah,
With nutrients. In human beings, the nutrient is in the blood.
yeah.
Just like the scripture says, the life is in the blood. It is, you know. Um, just like the nutrient in a fruit is in the fruit itself. So in us, the nutrients is in the blood. And once you get into the blood, and you love, you can go wherever you want to go.
Hmm.
One,
Once you get in here,
yeah,
you can travel.
you can travel. It's just like the Demerara River. You can go, you know, you can go in there. Some of them don't care where they go, so they just float around wherever. You know, I saw worms. I saw worms in scrotums. You know.
Yeah. Can you imagine? Can you imagine the life of the worm in the body?
Hmm.
This worm doesn't have to work anywhere.
Hmm.
He just hangs around and he's fed by you. He gets his nutrients from you.
Yeah.
You have to work so hard to earn and to provide for yourself, and then the worm is just there, he's a scavenger actually,
Yeah.
benefiting from all of your hard labor.
all of the hard labor.
And then
Everything he eats.
it's he's so ungrateful that he makes you sick. Before he thanks you, he makes you sick, and then he kills you too.
Yeah, you can get people can have worm. I don't know. You probably mentioned in the brain.
Oh yeah, I talked about the one of
Yeah,
the patients I had with the worm all over his brain.
yeah.
They couldn't figure it out. Worm in his brain, worm in the back of the eyes, worm in the liver, worm in the kidney, worm all over, worm in the pelvis,
Hmm.
worm in the pelvis. Many women are walking around with worms in their pelvis and have no.
Yep. You know.
I found that today.
Yeah.
Worm in the pelvis.
Yeah, and it goes. You know, the worm it can go in the uterus and actually, you know, create a problem where you can become in male also in the testes and become
Yeah.
sterile.
Next thing you know, you have a tumor there, and you wonder, how did I get a tumor?
Yeah.
Nest of worms with fluid and all sorts of things in there.
Hmm.
So they have their own world that they're living in.
Yeah.
You know, I did I looked at something today where this guy he does autopsies,
Hmm.
and he was saying that almost 80%, 90% of the people he did the autopsies on, most of the time,
Mm.
found sacks of parasites, worms, even with those who had cardiac arrest, stroke.
Mm.
Yeah, forget about cancers. He sees that all the time.
Wow.
So those worms are responsible for I would say 95% of what happens to humans.
Yeah, but you know the thing is, a lot of people don't believe it.
Yeah,
You know, and I I can only speak from what I see. You know, so you know you when you see it, it's unbelievable. You know, it goes in the lungs too. You can stay in
oh
the,
yes, forget it. Um, I was screening someone this week actually, and they had bronchitis and
Mhm.
pneumonia,
Mhm.
and the worms were living in the chest, in the lungs.
Yeah, yeah. You
Hmm.
know, it's there. You know, so there's no denying of it. You know.
You know, sometimes you hear people say, "I got this tickling in my throat. I got this tickling in my throat," and they have to cough, and they can't get the cold to come up. It's the worm in there.
Yeah.
It could very be a worm in there
Mhm.
that maybe part of him is up there, but much of him is below,
Yeah.
so he
Yeah.
can't come up.
Yeah. So you know, it's a real thing. It's real, and especially most countries, uh, the most countries that experience this, all countries experience it, but majority of cases is in tropical countries. You know,
Mhm.
and this is really when you do like tropical medicine. This is majority of the cases you see, uh, especially in places like Guyana and Africa and you know South America and all those places. It's worm in people. You know.
Dominican Republic, Thailand.
Dominican Republic too. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And a lot of times people need to get back to doing what you know their parents did to them when they were younger.
you
They
you said
weren't.
you said that now when I said it earlier. You didn't even know I said it earlier.
Oh no, I didn't know that. No,
I did.
you know.
I talked about the children before they go back to school.
Yeah,
What used to
yeah.
happen, and they need to start doing it again.
We need to start doing it again. I mean,
When
and
they're doing it, the children do it to themselves.
hmm hmm
Yeah, because it is important that you deworm and you detox. Don't just
yeah,
deworm, you detox.
detox.
You know, someone, the person on the phone wanted to know what they can use at home. How can they detox, or how can they deworm?
Hmm.
It's very difficult. There are things that you can use like clove and maybe cinnamon
Hmm.
at home. Make some strong clove tea. But the problem is those condiments don't get rid of all of the worms,
Right,
because there's so many different types of worms
right.
that some
Hmm.
of the worms that exist may just drink that and
Yep.
get bigger.
Hmm. Mhm.
So they need to get real designed parasitical cleansers or parasitical destroyers, which
Yeah,
are available, that can really force the worms to exit and to die.
yeah. A lot, they used to have. If they want, it depends on how they want. If they want to go natural or uh, pharmaceutical, that warm mixture, they mixed a lot of, I think mebendazole and other agents to use. But like you said, I mean, there are other worms, and a lot of times they don't work, naturally as it should, you know. But that's a start,
Yeah,
it's a start. But the walnut wormwood, I don't know, there's walnut wormwood mixtures, that they can probably use, you know.
they can use it, but again, that we found that does not get rid of all of the worms. That is why we had to have an arsenal of worm medicines to actually capture, the variety of worms that exist.
Yeah, yeah. Come and get some super parasite cleanser. You might have the whole country coming to get super parasite.
they need they need to get it because
Yeah.
it's destroying themselves, it's destroying them,
Hmm.
destroying their family, and it's causing them to have issues at home.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
becoming sick, and one of the reasons why they're sick is because they need to deworm. They
Yeah.
need to remove it. They need to cleanse that. I was asking the lady how often does she clean her house.
Hmm.
Every day she cleans her house. Well, how often do you clean your body?
Hmm.
I'm not saying you should clean every day, but at least you need to defecate every day.
Yeah.
At least once a day you need to defecate, which is that's sort of a cleansing. But at least once a week you need to detox and deworm. I don't care what anybody say. At least once a week, detoxify and deworm yourself and your children. Get rid of all that stuff that you have accumulated, all the chemicals, all the junk foods, all of the metals, that are the cadmium and mercury and lead that you're consuming
Yeah.
from eating the foods that are laden with them.
Yeah. Fish, especially,
Yeah,
living in that water.
yeah,
A lot of fish have a lot of contaminants and heavy metal. So you need to do heavy metal detox.
yes.
But what for individuals who don't have resources? What do you recommend that they do
At home,
at home? They used to have this the device, but that was like an enema, wasn't it?
yeah. Enema. They don't do enemas anymore hardly, but
But
we
that's
do.
what remember that old time thing,
Yeah, with the water and
right?
yeah.
That
But
that that worked for pinworms, especially with young kids, ones with itching the bottom and so forth. You would see the pinworms coming out, and it's just water, right?
yeah, just water.
That's
But,
water.
those devices probably don't hardly exist anymore. The enema bags and all of that, they hardly exist. Well, we do colonics or colon therapy, where we extract the matter from your inside,
Right.
and we would see worms crawling out of there.
Yeah, yeah,
As
yeah.
we do the colonic, we'd see the worms swimming out because they have no
Yeah,
option.
yeah, they can't. They're blasted with a wave of water. They can't swim.
Yeah, they're
Flush
just
out.
yeah, just coming out and
So
going into the septic or the sewer.
yeah, so that's an inexpensive thing, right?
Yeah,
Water.
it would cost a few dollars, to get it done. But
Uh-huh. No, but I was referring to like the device, the old time device. I know somebody have it.
the old device is the enema bag or the enema
No, it
can.
was it was like a can, like a white.
Yes, enema can with a hole and the hose that comes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they're antique now. We have about 2 minutes left, Dr. Richard.
Oh, tuna.
Yeah, it's like that is an antique version of the.
I bet you somebody gonna come to your place right there and say, "Hey, I got one."
Oh yeah, I'm quite sure people still have them.
With the hose and the spigot, the little spigot. You just
Yeah, yeah.
that thing. I used to run from that thing.
Release it. Yeah.
You used to have to. That was like how often that was done.
Well, most times it was done when persons were constipated,
Yeah.
get good bowel movements, and then it was done maybe monthly, once a month.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, once a month just to have to clean everything out of the colon. But when we talk about detoxing, we want them to be able to cleanse
The whole body.
colon, the whole body system.
Yeah.
And there are now medicines that are available that are natural that can be taken orally
Mm-hmm.
that can help to do a good cleansing and a good deworming. You
Yeah.
know, so they can call the clinic and we can advise them and point them in the right
Advise, yeah.
direction. The number is there on the screen. It's 231-6477 just in case. And for those of you who didn't know, you can get us online. You can, I'll say it again. You can go on YouTube and just put, Dr. Joseph Haynes in there. And on Thursdays between 6 and 7, it'll come up live. And then you could actually put it on your system so that you can be made aware when the program is on, when we're coming on and so on. But you can push the like button and then it will advise you that we're on and so on. But Dr. Richard, I know time is up now, and you had a short stint, but you'll be back on next Thursday again.
Next
We
Thursday.
will continue some more dialogue about the worms, and maybe we'll get them to know what else they can do at home and all of that. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So thank you for your participation today. I know you were busy. You're very busy.
Yeah.
You had some things to do, and thank the operators and the guys in the studio. For those of you who are watching, I want to thank you for watching and participating. And I hope that you learned something today because it's about your health and your family's health. So until we reach again next time, you have a wonderful weekend. Be safe, be healthy. God bless you. Thank you for watching, and so long.
Thank you.